Hey there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome back. It's another Red Pill Religion podcast. Red Pill Religion, where amongst the things we say are that nerd culture is nobody's political or religious or ideological property. So if you like the kind of work we do here on redpillreligion.com, remember that on Mondays we usually do Nerdstreams because we just like to lay back and chill out. It's one of our regularly scheduled shows. Just like on Wednesday, we always have John C. Wright. Just like on Fridays, we're usually doing news. Tomorrow, just so y'all know, we will be doing a response to Godless Cranium. We've been at crosswords with him before, but we'll try to be nicer this time. Wednesday, like I said, John Wright will be here, and we've got stuff every single night. So if you like the work we're doing, please be sure to remember in these days of social media censorship that you can always find us. If you lose us on YouTube, we're on our third channel now. Please find us on redpillreligion.com. Redpillreligion.com, where every day we have new articles and new graphics and videos by us, videos by others. This is where you'll also find our PayPal, Patreon, and Bitcoin donation buttons. And we really could use your financial assistance. We are trying to grow this, trying to get better equipment. If you like the kind of unique content you're seeing here, do remember us there. We're still hoping for approval from a subscribe star. We've had all kinds of issues with Patreon, but PayPal and Bitcoin are still working, and we really do appreciate your help there. Please also find us on gab.com and minds.com and Facebook on Red Pill Religion. Although we're probably going to be leaving Facebook at some point, and probably moving to MeWe. In fact, you can look for me on MeWe if you want. You can follow me on MeWe at Max Dean Esme if you want to. So feel free to do that anytime. And we're probably going to start a Red Pill Religion group on there. MeWe is looking promising. In fact, that's going to be one of the first things we talk about. So joining me tonight for Nerdstream are some old friends. First, my regular sidekick on Monday Nerdstreams, Youngblood Ray. Say hi to everybody, Ray.
Greetings, all.
And also joining us is our friend from the Philippines, Albrecht. Say hi to everybody, Albrecht.
Hello, everybody. Also, the fire rises.
Also, the fire rises. Oh, man, I'm so dumb I don't get the reference. What's that?
It's a Batman reference.
Okay, and we also have joining us Trolly McPatriarchy from his Make Gaming Great Again blog. Go ahead and say hi to everybody there,
Hey, guys.
Trolly. And we are also joined by the Common Nephil, one of the Red Pill Religion team, and also has his own channel where he mostly talks about gaming and stuff. Please go subscribe to the Common Nephil. How you doing tonight, Nephil?
I'm doing well. It's not just game, but I also cover like current events and basically whatever is happening, whatever word travels by the internet. But yeah, it's good to be back from joining in these live streams again. It really is fun doing so. It's just that I've been busy so many times and I sometimes lose track of it.
Okay, well, it's great to have us all here. So yeah, on Nerdstream, guys, it's mostly just show and tell. We sit back and relax. We try not to get into heavy political or religious or whatever stuff. But let me say, we will start with something kind of political that I'm sure has a lot of people up in arms, but which I actually am not that up in arms against. Oh, dang it, I seem to have lost the link. So hang on, let me see if I can find that again. Turns out video game players everywhere are probably losing their minds, but Jack Thompson is back. Jack Thompson is back. Run, everybody, run. Jack Thompson, in case people don't know, was really quite infamous a few decades ago. Here's the link I was looking for. It's all of our links for tonight are in the low bar, by the way. But in any case, our old the supposed nemesis of the video game community, Jack Thompson, has a piece in the Tallahassee Democrat and other sources, basically saying that we could end school violence by enforcing laws on video games. And you know what? To be honest, I know that this probably makes teenage gamers angry, but given that the mean age of a gamer these days is 35, I myself as a video game player have to say, you know what, gamers who hate Jack Thompson maybe want to chill out a little bit. You're older now, and maybe you realize that maybe he went overboard in the past, or maybe he even got smeared in the past, and maybe he was too extreme in the past. But I mean, actually, I'm not saying that video games cause violence, but there is reason to be concerned about young kids being too influenced by really graphic stuff. And we're talking about young children here. And all he's actually calling for here that I'm seeing is, they've got these, rated T for teen, rated M for mature. All he's suggesting is that stores which sell these be required by law to honor them. And so not sell to somebody under the age of 13, or not sell to under the age of 18, or whatever it is for a particular game. And you know what? I'm actually having trouble finding fault with him on this one. I mean, dude, if you're 18, you don't even have to care about this. And if you don't have kids, you don't have to care about this. Unless you got a little brother or a little sister. And I actually, maybe I'm wrong, because, but I think times are changing at least a little bit, because even young people, I think, can see that a lot of graphic sex and a lot of graphic violence and that sort of thing isn't good for kids to be looking at. I think the whole generation that grew up looking at porn is probably pretty sick of porn. And that seems to be bearing out in a lot of the stats I'm seeing. Not that porn still isn't popular, but you know what I mean? So I don't know. I mean, do you think Jack Thompson should be a total douche here for saying enforce those things? So if a 12-year-old comes in and wants to buy Grand Theft Auto, your answer is no. Is that really the slide into totalitarianism? I mean,
No,
we've got so much censorship going on. We've got so much censorship going on. Are we terrified of that? Go ahead. What do you think, Neville?
Right, like here's my thing. Yeah, the other things that are supposed to be mature, you have to have an ID for. Like you buy alcohol, you buy tobacco. You're supposed to be a certain age for that. You need an ID for that. I remember I was buying and I literally reached for my wallet for my ID. And the dude's looking at me like, what are you doing? Like, well, aren't I supposed to do that? This is an M-rated game. So, yeah, I do think there should be some sort of regulation. So I'm going to chalk this up to a broken clock being right twice a day, because he does have a point here.
I mean, I don't know that it's really going to end school shootings, but I don't know. I'm no longer willing. I've seen so much. I mean, I've been playing video games since the 80s, like since more than a lot of people have been alive. I actually played my first video game in the 70s. I literally played Pong when Pong came out. I'm that old, okay? And I was always resistant to the idea, but I've looked at the generation raised on video games, and I do think the really violent games have made some young men in particular more crass, more rude, more aggressive. And I can see, I mean, and I've met enough autists and crazies online that it's like, yeah, I can see somebody playing Grand Theft Auto and Battlefield 16 hours a day. Like 1 in 1,000 of them might lose their stuff and say, you know what, I'm just going to go do this. I'm not going to say that's impossible or that it has no influence. I still don't think, though, that it's going to fix the problem. I'm going to shut up now. Who else has an opinion?
My question would be enforceability. How will you enforce it on stuff like Steam and good old games? Like, I can see it happening in a physical store that sells video games, but how about online? People can fake their identities online very easily. People can fake their ages online very easily. How about that?
Well,
that's the only thing I'm wondering.
For me, when I think about it, I don't think it will solve that much, because there are studies that have been shown that that 95% of people have played something like Grand Theft Auto or Call of Duty or whatever. 95% of people have played them, but then they did in the said study, and I need to pull it up, only about 65% of people who do school shootings actually actually would actually play violent video games. Maybe Cruise Kid did that, but to me, I don't think it would solve the whole school shooting problem. I think there's
Oh,
other
that's
problems.
ridiculous. That's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't think that what I think it would be is there's a lot of a better thing to talk about. It's not that, but talk about how in our culture we have a 5-minute culture. Really, if you want to have something to eat, there's a microwave. If you want sexual enjoyment, there's Pornhub. If you want to be entertained, you put in a DVD, Blu-ray, computer game, whatever, and within 5 minutes, we can have whatever our needs are. And it kind of teaches us not something. It kind of restricts us from learning patience. And because we don't learn patience, like learning to good things come to those who wait, or wait who will work over time. We want things right now and everything. And so we get one end of the spectrum being a special snowflake that if things don't go their way, they're crying and screaming and yelling at all kinds of campuses about how people are Nazis. And then you get some kid who never makes any friends because everybody just picks on them and everything, and they turn out into like, okay, I'm gonna make these people pay for what they're doing. And I think it's all basically that, because I was bullied in school, and all I kept on saying is, if I'm going through this now, it's going to get better eventually. I kept on telling myself that it's going to get better eventually. So I can go through this right now, but it's going to get better eventually. That whole patience thing that people don't seem to have anymore. But that's my opinion on the whole thing. So maybe again, if you look at the patience thing, yeah, telling a 12-year-old you're not old enough to play Grand Theft Auto. You have to wait a few years. Maybe
Yeah, I kind of wish. I actually let my kid play that, and I kind of wish I hadn't. But I mean, it's not like he turned out bad, and nobody thinks you instantly turn out bad. You know, it's not like that. I'm generally with you. I see this as a small thing. Although I would respond to Albrecht's point about you not being able to do it online. Number one, parents have the ability to, you know, you going to steal mom and dad's credit card and then buy stuff without permission on it. I mean, Steam is pretty self-policing that way. So if parents are letting kids do this, then the parents are letting them do it. Just like the parents can buy the rated M for mature game for the 8-year-old if that's what they want to do.
Oh come on! Come on! It's like, come on! Rated M for 8-year-olds? Come on! Parents should have better sense of that. At least give it them when they're 14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, parents are perfectly, and many do now, more and more and more. Hell, I'm thinking about it myself, just for myself. I'm sick of clicking on porn on accident, or just seeing that stuff come by. The use of filters. You know, parents can use filters online if they want to. They're not that expensive. They're not that hard. And that also gets to the video game thing, which is that what does Jack Thompson think is actually happening with these video games? That I mean, like, is there a rush of 12-year-olds going into Walmart and stealing Grand Theft Auto? Or buying Grand Theft Auto on their own. See, because that's the flip side of this. It's like, really, Jack? I'm really not saying he's wrong, because he's not. But I'm like, how big is the problem of 15-year-olds buying? Well, I mean, I guess there are a number of 13, 14, 15-year-olds with cash. But still, I don't think I'm not against what he's saying. It's just I don't see how he thinks it's going to have this huge impact. but it could be one part of a larger thing. I don't know. The bottom line is people do have a right to want their kids protected somewhat, and I'm sorry if you don't like it, but you know what? A lot of you gamers who were mad at Jack Thompson 20 years ago, you're older now, and maybe you're going, well, he wasn't that off. I don't think he was. These things all have an influence. So do the movies. So do the, it all has an influence on us, and it's not always good. All right, I guess that's enough ranting about politics. Why don't we get back to something more fun? And why don't we start with, Apocolypse, Shin Megami Tensei 4, Apocolypse, Apocolypse. I'll be showing some footage from John Awesome's, John, I don't know how you pronounce John Awesome, but there is, it's on his channel. So we'll be using a little of his footage, link to his stuff's in the low bar, and we'll be on the blog. So what's this game all about, sir?
So basically, what happened is Japan is basically the whole world. Japan. It's basically split up between angels and demons, and like basically the gods and the demons, they're all wanting to take over the earth, and the humans, they just want to live.
So essentially, Family Feud.
Yeah, essentially.
Or Diablo.
Yeah, that too. And one thing I absolutely love about this game is like they're not making up these like demons or divine figures. These are things you can look up in actual history.
Okay, and is this like a form of JRPG then, basically?
It's an RPG. Like it's kind of like Pokemon, where you got to catch the thing. Only
okay, sort of like a JRPG.
Oh yeah, definitely.
A JRPG. Okay.
And basically, the premise of this is, after the tutorial, you die. I'm not kidding. And what happens is you're in this purgatory type thing, and you meet up with the Celtic god of wisdom, Dagda. And he makes a contract with you. He wants to make his own universe, kill off all the old gods, all the old demons. He wants to make a contract to make a universe with you, and that's what brings you back to life. And there's like a few endings to this. Like there's an ending where you side with him. There's an ending where you don't want to do it. You don't want to start the new universe. Like it's a really fun game. I definitely had a lot of fun playing it.
Has anybody else here played it? No, you're the only one? Oh, that makes for a far less discussion. I thought before the show, Nephil was saying he was into Shin Megami Tensei.
Well, I've heard of it, but I was never familiar with it.
Okay. So this is for the 3DS?
Oh, yeah. It came out in 2016.
Okay. And you just love playing it? And what the heck? Anybody else out there into this particular game? Chelsea wants to play Apocolypse. So there you go. Chelsea in the comments is like, well, I want to play Apocolypse. Well, hook up with Ray then. You'll have some fun. Oh, good to see people in the comments, by the way. Hey, Same. He's our secret Jewish spy. Dirac is back. It says Stephen Paddock was not a gamer. Who talked about Stephen Paddock? Did I say? Who's Stephen Paddock, Dirac? Anyway, all right. Why don't we go ahead and look at something else then? Who brought us some other fun? Oh, Trolly McPatriarchy, sir. You brought us something called Blender, or some yummy stuff you made in Blender. What's Blender all about? You've got it up on your blog there, and I noticed we got a link to Blender Guru too. What's Blender all about, and why you like it so much?
Well, Blender is like this free open source 3D animation modeling texturing software that you can just create whatever you want. And Blender Guru is this guy's website, and I learned how to basically work with Blender through his tutorials. He has like a 9-episode tutorial series. Goes over about about 8 to 9 hours worth of lessons on how to work with Blender and everything. And
Oh, okay. So wait a minute. This is like a free. It's called Blender Guru, and it's a big tutorial series on how to use it.
yeah.
It looks like it's put together by the Blender people, probably, but I guess it's pretty good.
Oh, it's very good. It's very good. It goes through every single. Well, it goes through a lot of how to model things, and I made those chocolate dip donuts through this guy's tutorial because I followed the tutorial, but in a way that I did things differently than him, because that's how you're going to really learn. Do
Sure,
things different.
sure. Because I see in his tutorials here, he's got, he's making some pink colored donuts and stuff like that. So you're doing the basics, the basic shapes and manipulation, but then you're manipulating to your own, right? You made this.
He makes that, and I make mine a little bit different. Yeah, exactly.
Looks quite good. It looks quite good. And then you can use this to accomplish. I mean, this isn't like Photoshop, is it? It's more. I mean, how would you compare something like this to Photoshop, or is it the same basic idea?
No, it would be. It's even more powerful than that because you can take these donuts that I made. You can put them into a video game. You can put them into 3D movies like made by Pixar and stuff like that. You can do a lot with this. It's not just Photoshop. You could try to do the exact same thing in Photoshop and you'd never be able to get the right lighting effects and everything because it's like a complete package.
Damn, I gotta look more. I gotta re-download Blender because I had trouble using it.
Oh yeah.
Now, is Blender open source or what is Blender? I mean,
it is open source. It's they rely totally on PayPal donations to operate, and then anybody can download it free of charge. Anybody can use it free of charge, and it's like I said, it's a really awesome program. This guy Andrew. I don't think he's officially affiliated with Blender, but from what I gather, he's been working with Blender since the beginning. He says he's been using it for 7 years. So I could see somebody like that. He goes to all kinds of conferences with it and keeps up with the news.
Yeah.
To Blender.
I see he's got his own channel, Blender Guru.
Yep.
So we're uploading some stuff on that. Whoops. Oh, wait a minute. What's he got going there? How long have you been working with it?
A month.
Oh, really?
But okay. I also had 3 years of animation experience using a different program. So I'm coming in with my own set of ideas based upon one set of software, and it's terminology. One software calls something a null, and another one calls it a planar access. So you find out what the equivalent of something else is into a new program, and then you can translate it really effectively. And I've started working with Blender because I want to start to make video games and teach people how to make video games with my channel. So having that 3D tools to make 3D characters and objects is definitely a necessary skill for game developers. So
and then that's what you work on too, right? Game dev.
Yep.
Well, that's pretty awesome. Well, cool. You should show us some of your video game work sometime when you get a chance, because that would be fun too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, who brought up United States of Japan or Angry Robot?
That was me.
Oh, that's one of yours, Ray? All right.
Yep.
Well, I love the label genre fluid. Angry Robot is genre fluid. I take it that means what do they do here? I don't know what. They just review different books, basically.
I think they're the publishers. I think they just publish whatever.
And what is United States of Japan? It already sounds fun.
Well, basically, this is an alternate history book where Japan has won. Well, Japan and Germany have won, but this is mostly about Japan side of the U.S. that won.
Well,
And what it's about,
forget how much we fought the Japanese. They really do.
yeah. And what it's about is like this guy who his job is to censor video games. And what happens is he gets called in by the Imperial Police to help them investigate something because his mentor made this game called United States of America, which, well, obviously it's a game about what happened if the U.S. won World War II in that scenario. And it's kind of fun.
Wait a minute. They're looking for a game that depicts America winning?
Yeah, like they're looking for information about it because, like, technically that's kind of illegal in the Imperial rule.
Oh, okay. So wait a minute. Is it really an alternate history or is it a future history? No.
It's alternate history. Like, it takes place in the 1970s, but it's like a more technologically advanced 1970s. Like, they already have stuff like smartphones, advanced computers, and all that.
Because Japan won the war, and so we got all the electronics quicker, I guess would be the thinking, right?
Yeah, yeah, like basically what helped Japan win World War II in that scenario was like basically big Gundam-like mechas.
but they don't want it. But they would be upset in any propaganda that would ever suggest the United States could beat Japan. I see.
Oh yeah.
And so that's part of the story. It's a science fiction story in an alternate universe where Japan won and would be humiliated at the idea of a game where the USA won. That's pretty cool wrap around there, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Now, would you call this like is it I mean it's I see it's being compared to Philip K. Dick. I'll read the description on Angry Robot Books. The Axis won World War II, and now in the late 1980s, the Japanese Empire rules over the Western U.S. states. Their power assured by technological superiority. But when a video game emerges, it posits a world where the Allies won. A game censor and an imperial government agent discover truths about the empire that make them question their loyalty. So it's sort of a spy detective science fiction story, it sounds like, and conspiracy all at once, right? They're unraveling a mystery.
Yep.
And they're eventually going to find out bad things about Japan. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, actually. And it sounds like they've studied stuff. I mean, I mean, like, even today, the Japanese, they don't like to talk about their own bad history. You know?
Right.
Like Nanking and things like that. But so you could see how, and that's actually very, I mean, Imperial Japan was pretty much, it wasn't exactly a fascist state, but it was actually pretty close to it. Because Imperial Japan in the 1940s, when we were fighting them in World War II, Imperial Japan, it did have an emperor, and the emperor was still powerful, but they did have a parliamentary government and elected, so they had a sort of a constitutional monarchy thing going, and they did use a lot of fascist principles and tactics. So you can't say they were strictly fascist, because fascist philosophy wouldn't admit to a divine emperor and some of the other things, but pretty much in the way they operated, it was very fascist, and very literally so, not just throwing words out, right? And yeah, fascist regimes and really imperial regimes tend to want to rewrite and censor history. So this sounds like a really good book, and it sounds kind of true to life too. It doesn't sound, once you accept the premise, it sounds actually like it would make a very good and realistic story.
Yeah, it was really a good read. Like, I remember staying up trying to get to the next chapter.
Really? It had you going that much, huh?
Yep.
Well, dang. Well, maybe I'll actually look for it. I've actually been reading books again. I used to read so many books. That sounds like it would make a fun movie too, actually.
Yeah, it would. I've read a lot of books, particularly metaphysics books, but I'm also going to read a lot. I'd say 2018, I've read more books than I ever did throughout in my life. But this year, I plan to read more metaphysics and more esoteric stuff.
Excellent, excellent. Well, speaking of nerdery then and reading nerdy stuff, who wants to talk about frickin' what is this? Kobori, what is the name of this title, Albrecht?
Looking up to you.
What is
Looking
it? Oh,
Up to
Looking
You.
Up to You. There it is. There's its name, Looking Up to You. Man, you are just into such girly manga, aren't you?
Well, the girl's a tomboy.
Okay, okay. Oh, it's another one. It's another alpha beta male thing, kind of too. A really tough, tall girl, and a short little boy, and a romance.
Yep.
between
The
Yeah.
thing about this manga is that it pretty much shows us that height is not a requirement for love. Because if you go to places like Tinder or Twitter, there's a lot of hatred against short dudes. So this manga shows us that, hey, short men are also men that can be loved. A little bit of warning though, this manga is slow when it comes to its old premises and stuff.
Well, I'll tell you honestly. Well, I'm not into the whole, victim, feministy kind of, feel but so sorry for it. But actually, short guys do have it tough. Women do not find them attractive. They have to overcome a deficit. I mean, I would put it akin to a girl with, like a flat chest and flat butt and that sort of thing. But it does matter. I mean, short guys, especially with 5 foot, especially if they're under about 5'5", or they're down to about 5'4", or 5'2", or 5'1", they will tend to get picked on, and the women will tend to not treat them very well. There have even been psychological studies on them. Yet, short guys do wind up with taller women. It happens. And sometimes they're very good relationships. So, I mean, to be honest, it's inherently comical. This is also one of those things where feminists are full of crap, right? Because girls laugh when they see a girl taller than a guy. They want men to be taller. That's just, the way it is. But I don't know. I mean, if it's well written, right?
And there's a page in this which says, height has nothing to do with liking somebody. I posted it in the group and said, Tinder is burning because of this.
Yeah, stay off of Tinder, man. There is nothing worth seeing on Tinder ever.
Yeah. Plus, a lot of those images are like photoshopped and shit.
There is nothing on Tinder worth 5 seconds of your time. Is what I would say to you there. Well, cool. And what's this other manga that you've been into?
Saotome Senshu up.
Fighter Saotome Cover Up. This is another tomboy thing, isn't it? High schooler Tsukushi, I can't see it. Satoru gets confessed by a local female high school boxing talent, Saotome Ye. He rejects her initially because he does not want to impede her boxing career. Her female coach, Yoya, hears about this and decides to install him as Saotome's trainer so they can secretly date each other. Okay, so he's training this girl to be a boxer, and then they're going to be dating. Okay, the only thing I'll say about that is that once they start having sex, she's probably not going to be boxing much longer, but maybe she would. I don't know.
Dude, look at the abs. The gorgeous girl abs.
Wait a minute, this is the girl? This is the girl?
Yep, girl abs.
Oh, man.
This is the reason why guys were into girl abs.
I gotta tease you. This is very androgynous. I mean, this is androgynous. That looks like a teenage boy to me.
It looks like one of those bishis.
Although to be fair, Matt, there is something realistic about this one. So Tomi-san has small tits.
Okay. And she's conscious of it? Okay.
Right? But then again, she doesn't care.
And again, what?
She doesn't care about how smaller tits are.
Yeah, fair enough.
Which is good.
Okay, and then they develop a relationship anyway. You do like romantic comedy stuff, dude. You're like secretly a chick at heart in ways, aren't you? No, I'm just teasing.
Yeah.
I like
But the thing is, it's
sometimes.
romance stories for guys because in my country there aren't a lot of stories that are made for guys. Just about every chick flick and chick drama is about, oh, a woman's falling in love with a tall, handsome Chad guy. And I'm all, boring. Show me something else.
Yeah, well, you know what? That is fair enough. And I know a lot of guys out there a lot of guys, especially young guys, are crass about it. They think that no, I just want to see I want to see the raunchy sex and I don't care about the emotional stuff. But I actually find that that is not true. Most guys have really deep emotional lives and they don't like talking about it. Most guys have deep insecurities and yearnings and longings and dreams and need to be loved and need to be appreciated, need to be cared about and all that stuff. A lot of that has been lost in the current sex wars in our society, but it's actually not feminine to be into romantic stuff. And it's not wrong to be interested in something offbeat like that too. You know, a different story. You know, what about the short guy with the taller girlfriend? What is that all about? There's nothing wrong with any of that. I kind of like that. Um, so, oh, Same says you're not a chick, you're a lobster. One of those old,
Lobster.
Alcadio Occult is razzing us. What's going on there, Autumn Storm, our witch friend? He says, okay, I've seen better. What have you seen better? Okay, maybe this isn't our best episode for you. Hey, sometimes we just do nerd culture stuff. We do that on Mondays. If you ever want to come to a nerd show, we do it every Monday, as I mentioned at the top of the show. Speaking of which, well, dang, man, we've almost run out of things to talk about. Anybody got anything else they'd like to add or talk about?
Well, I guess we could talk about MeWe.
We could talk about MeWe. Same says we're at the bottom of the lobster hierarchy. Yeah, that makes sense. Curse Jordan Peterson forever for making lobster now a permanent, that's a meme that's not going to go away for a while, is it?
Yeah.
So anyway, MeWe, yeah, we didn't actually get to talk about MeWe because I just kind of mentioned it at the front. I am just sort of kind of looking at MeWe. You know, I'm not really into it yet, but it looks really promising. So what are you finding from it? Ethel?
I gotta admit, I like the setup of it.
Well, yeah, I do like it. Simple, clean, and hey, it's better than Facebook. And it seems it might do better than Twitter ever would because it has a social media. It's pretty clean when you think about it. But it's like no bullshit, no censorship, just the way I like it.
Well, I mean, I guess we'll see. It looks like people have to come find you, though, like on Facebook, right? It's not one of those crazy things where anybody can follow you.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so it's always going to be more limited to who you expand out and accept as contacts. But you know what? That's probably for the best. At this point, I think Tumblr and Twitter have proven that, just having public shitstorming and shit posting wide open for everybody just doesn't work. So maybe it makes more sense if people just network. I mean, I had 20,000 followers on Twitter. There was lies saying I only had a few, that they were fake, but they weren't. But they wound up banning me. But in the end, people with that many followers tweeting stuff and shit posting each other and arguing with each other, at some point it just stops working anyway. And so I don't miss Facebook or Twitter, and I really don't think I'm going to miss Facebook either. I'm pretty sure I won't be on Facebook a year from now. Can't say for sure, but I don't like it. I don't like a lot of the stuff I see on there, and it's a terrible company. I mean, have you heard any news about it? I mean, it's here, but a lot of alternatives are here. Gab is there, and it's still going. Have you heard anything about their long-time survivability of MeWe? I mean, I can't figure out what their business model is, actually.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know either. My guess is they probably take donations from what I've seen so far.
Well, they do sell things. I see they have this
Yeah.
where you can buy emojis and themes and that sort of thing, and that seems pretty cool. That seems like a good way of making money. They may have others. I also have to admit, a service like this actually shouldn't cost that much to run, to be honest with you.
Yeah, probably.
Depending on how much they expect that you put up graphic or videos. I assume they don't, I assume they don't host videos on here yet. I know one thing. I am so sick of the big social media companies. Aren't you guys?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the garbage that is Twitter, the garbage that is.
Oh yeah, so true. I'm sick of it, man. I think.
And what's Tumblr? It's even it's even worse than Twitter.
I'm tired of Twitter. Everyone on Twitter is going all, hey, someone is short, someone is this, someone's that, let's kill him, let's humiliate him. It gets old.
Yeah.
Well, everything is just completely, like, why would you even go on Twitter? The only time, almost inevitably when I go on Twitter, there's just a lot of fights and everything that people just go like blah 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 blah. One side's against the other side and everything, and nobody wants to listen to anybody, anyways.
No, it's all about signal boosting. It's all. I mean, I think the culture as a whole may be even turning away from it. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just sick. It appears that the way that half of so-called journalists do things is just look for stuff on Twitter and then write articles about it. It's just the media sucks so bad, and the social media companies suck so bad. The only thing that bothers me is like you don't know who to believe on anything anymore. You know, I mean, really, there's so much censorship. There's so much deplatforming. There's so many things they'll censor you for revealing this information. I don't know. I don't even know how anybody uses the word conspiracy theory and snarls anymore. It's pretty obvious that a lot of conspiracy theories are true.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like recently, DDJ. We had a great interview with him the other night. DDJ from Misandry Today recently had up a video talking about this, and I'll just flash it.
Yeah, basically that Facebook, Google, Twitter are practically selling our data to the Chinese government.
It's not merely a matter of selling our data to the Chinese government. It is also a matter of, and here I'll mention, again, I said Misandry Today, DDJ, he had a video about this. Literally, the CEOs of these big tech companies, I'll flash from his video here, CEOs from the U.S. biggest tech companies, including Facebook and Twitter, have scheduled a private meeting to share their tactics in preparation for the elections. It says they had employees from a dozen companies, including, heads of security, CEOs and stuff from Google, Microsoft, Snapchat, gather at Twitter headquarters. So it's at Twitter too, all to talk about their agenda politically. And what to do, and where they concluded that the American ideal of free speech no longer really seems to be functional on the internet. That's one of the things they kind of said in some of their secret notes that have been released in some place. At this meeting, they were just open. The American ideal of free speech is, it's basically impractical here on the internet. And what are we going to do about this? And as Misandry Today rightly points out, under American law, this all by itself might be enough to trigger an antitrust investigation. Historically, just a meeting like that of these big companies. Like back in the 70s, if the CEOs of Chrysler and Ford and GM got together for anything, it was news, because by antitrust laws, because they were competitors of major industries, they really weren't allowed to be too friendly to each other, because that's inherently corrupt, right? So the when the auto companies were the biggest companies in the U.S., there were just laws that said, hey, no, you know, your officer, you can't become incestuous. Your management class can't be best buddies with each other and colluding with each other and stuff like that. Can't do that. That's antitrust action. And this is 10 times worse. And these people are pretty clear that they're talking about how they're going to censor their customers and how they're going to control things and how they even got together to make plans for the elections. And we know that these companies were, you know, all very much leaning on one side of the election, and they lost. And so they've had meetings to see what can we do to prevent that from happening again, essentially, because they lost. Everybody in the big tech companies was for Hillary. This is not a secret. This is not a conspiracy. Some of them have even admitted it. They've said, well, that doesn't make us biased. It's just the way we lean. But give me a break, right? And I definitely think that other people who've been calling for antitrust investigations and trust busting and monopoly busting, they are absolutely right. This should Google needs to be broken up. Twitter needs to be, and Facebook, they need to start facing some kind of regulatory action. I know people are talking about what they call a Internet Bill of Rights, and I'm a little spooked about that, but ultimately, I do think we're going to need something like it because we cannot let these tech companies keep having this much power. We just can't. All right. Does anybody have anything to add to that? All right. Well, maybe we should go ahead and wrap it up then. This has been fun. Again, I'll mention to everybody, Monday is Nerdstreams. This is where we just relax. We talk about nerdy stuff that's fun to us. What were you going to say, Trolley?
Okay, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and there's a perfect quote out of a BioWare game in 2005 that so epitomizes what's going on, and it's from the beginning of this one game called Jade Empire. This way of the open palm is not without its hidden dangers, despite the best of intentions. It's a small leap from there to enforcing your will so that the crime never takes place. Suddenly, you are the oppressor when all you wanted to do is make things right. And if you look at the, quote, terms of service, a lot of these places like Twitter and Facebook and all of this, they want to do the right thing. They word their things to say, we're for the right thing, but they become oppressors because they do all kinds of things. Like, did I tell you guys that I got locked out of my Facebook account twice within less than a week because I'm making a game. My game that I'm making is called Gamergate Trolls. It's kind of like a little bit of a politically incorrect named, and it's going to be a little bit politically incorrect, poke fun at censorship and political correctness and all of that. And Facebook locked my account twice when I tried to advertise that game to different gamer groups. Somebody probably got butthurt and said, oh, yeah, so I'm going to report that as being a negative thing. And then Facebook, because I really didn't, locks me out of my account.
We should do one of these days, we should do a Gamergate Memories nerd stream. Like, plan it in advance and see who we can get to come in on it. I mean, a lot of people got famous out of Gamergate, and a lot of people got really hosed, and it really hurt, actually. And it was funny because even people who were friendly, some of what they said about Gamergate being full of nasty people was true. And some of the nasty people wound up getting famous too. But in any case, well, we probably rambled enough here tonight. It was fun. If anybody wants to come on a nerd stream or just send us suggestions for something to cover on a nerd stream, this is like our chill stream. It's our weekly chill stream. We just get together. We talk about fun stuff. We try not to get too heated or political. We do have more heated stuff coming up. Like I said, tomorrow we'll be doing a response to Godless Cranium. And on Wednesday, we're going to have John C. Wright. We got stuff every single night. We're also going to be, we're going to be doing sometime in the near future a stream on things like Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and giants. So that should be fun. And we're also going to be doing some stuff on the Virgin Mary soon, too. So we've got stuff going on all the time on all kinds of interesting stuff. So please give us a like. Please give us a subscribe. Please support our work on redpillreligion.com. And God bless everybody.